안녕하세요. 소리 지금 켰습니다. 이노데이터가 실적을 굉장히 좋게 잘 냈습니다. 주당 순이익은 62% 초과했고 매출은 12% 초과했고요. 그래서 지금 24년 2분기부터 구체적으로 보면 3분기부터 흑자 전환 제대로 했죠. 그래서 이제 이노데이터 같은 경우는 아이온큐보다는 조금 더 성장한 상태입니다. 이미 흑자 전환했기 때문에. 네, 실적을 보면요. 매출은 5,920만 달러로 예상치를 초과를 했죠. 작년 기준으로 1억 7,050만 달러, 전년 대비 96% 증가를 했고, 순이익도 전년에는 순손실이었는데 90만 달러, 순이익 2,870만 달러를 냈고, 현금성 자산도 1,380만 달러에서 4,690만 달러 돼서 본격적으로 돈을 벌면서 흑자 전환을 한 상태이고요. 4분기 매출이 예상치 5,200에서 5,500만에 크게 상회한 5,920만 달러. 어떻게 이렇게 나왔는가? 2024년 4분기랑 1월에 최대 고객으로부터 2,400만 달러 추가 프로그램 확장 수주. 이 최대 고객은 애플로 알고 있습니다. 그 외에 7개의 다른 빅테크 고객들이 있는데 그들로부터 매출이 전분기 대비 160% 가까이 증가했고, 새로운 고객들과도 수백만 달러 규모의 시범 프로젝트 하고 있고, 향후 수천만 달러 이상의 매출 기회로 이어질 수 있다. 그래서 M7, 매그니피센트 7이 빅테크 기업들의 AI 중심 자본 지출 확대가 도움이 되고 있고, 2025년에는 2024년 대비 40% 성장을 예상하고 있다. 근데 이미 확보된 계약과 예측 가능한 비즈니스 기반이기 때문에 앞으로도 계속 업데이트 해주겠다라고 했기 때문에 아마 더 늘어날 가능성이 있을 것 같고요. 어쨌거나 저는 이 기업을 굉장히 긍정적으로 보고 있습니다. 그래서 이 2025년 매출 가이던스는 계속 업데이트해서 바꿔가겠다, 즉 더 올리겠다라는 소리죠. 2025년에도 이노데이터를 세계 최고 AI 서비스 기업으로 만들고 주주들에게 뛰어난 수익을 주겠다. 그래서 오늘 어젯밤에 기억하시면 아시겠지만 주가를 많이 떨궜어요. 근데 저는 그게 페이크라고 생각을 했거든요. 실적이 잘 나올 확률이 굉장히 높은데 왜 저렇게 흔드는 걸까 해서 저는 조금 더 샀습니다. 그래서 어제 같은 경우 많이 떨어졌을 때는 50불 대가 깨졌죠. 그래서 저는 한 51불, 52불쯤에 조금 많이 샀는데 다시 올라왔죠. 올라와서 마이너스 8% 정도로 거의 마이너스 20% 정도까지 갔을 거예요. 지금은 60불을 다시 회복을 해서 한 플러스 10%? 근데 이거는 이제 저희 팬딩방에서도 말씀드렸지만 애프터 마켓이라 그러잖아요. 지금 장은 끝났고 장 끝난 후에 이제 소량으로 매매가 되는 장후 애프터 마켓장이기 때문에 작은 돈으로도 장난을 칠 수 있습니다. 그래서 제가 항상 말씀드리지만 프리장, 장 열리기 전, 그리고 애프터 마켓, 이때는 가격에 휘둘리시면 안 돼요. 가짜일 경우가 굉장히 많습니다. 뭐 일례로 제가 지금 한 1억만 넣어도 주가가 한 몇 프로 오를 거예요. 거래 자체가 많이 안 되기 때문에. 그래서 아마 오늘 본장 열려봐야 알겠지만 한 못해도 20%? 잘하면 30% 이상 오를 수 있는 실적이라고 생각을 하고요. 저는 이노데이터 평단가가 지금 한 수익률이 한 40-50% 정도 되는 것 같습니다. 그래서 이 종목 같은 경우는 우리가 펜딩에서 계속 제가 분석하면서 계속 샀던 이유 중에 하나가 빅테크들이 AI 지출을 늘려가고 있기 때문에 결국에는 AI에 좋은 데이터가 들어가야 좋은 결과가 나오거든요. 근데 그 데이터를 만들 수 있고 또 생성형 AI 모델들한테 피드백을 줘서 그걸 개선시키는 서비스를 하는 기업이 몇 개 없어요. 그 중에 미국 기업이면서 상장한 기업이 이노데이터밖에 없습니다. 참고로 이제 팬딩 멤버분들은 제가 말씀드렸지만 구독자분들은 모르시겠지만 그 웨드부시의 댄 아이브스라는 사람이 있어요. 그 사람이 이제 테슬라 초기 때부터 발굴해서 지금도 굉장히 테슬라를 밀고 있고 그걸로 유명해진 사람인데, 애플 분석으로도 유명하죠. 근데 그 사람이 작년 12월 중순부터 이노데이터를 다루기 시작합니다. 그게 12월 19일인데 그때 주가가 16% 올랐어요. 이 사람도 한 40불 후반대를 목표 주가로 줬는데 지금 이노데이터 주가 흐름을 보시면 2분기 실적부터 잘 나오면서 한번 붕 뜨고요. 조금 횡보하다가 3분기 실적이 매출이 예상치를 70% 넘게, 아니 50%인가요? 여기 보시면은 매출이 45% 초과하면서 이때 주가가 75%빵 터졌고 그 이후로 한 3달간 표류를 했죠. 제가 유튜브 팬링 다 말씀드렸지만 이렇게 한번 터진 후에 이렇게 박스권을 그린다는 것은 아직 기대감이 있다는 뜻이다. 지금은 매도할 때가 아니라 매수할 때다 라고 생각을 했는데, 그래서 저는 이 박스권 하단 칠 때마다 조금씩 더 샀고, 그러다 최근에 이제 2월 13일에 장대 양봉 터지면서 뚫었고요. 근데 보통 뚫으면 그 박스권만큼 더 위로 갑니다. 지금 32불에서 한 48불? 그럼 한 15불 정도 사이즈가 되는데, 그럼 여기서 올라가면 62불 정도, 60불 갈 거다라고 했는데, 네, 제가 말하자마자 이틀 만에 62불을 찍었어요. 그래서 이게 차트대로 흘러가진 않지만 차트를 참고하는 건 좋습니다. 근데 일단 실적이 찍힌다는 가정 하에 차트를 보는 거기 때문에 실적이 훨씬 더 중요하다는 거죠. 그래서 이런 것들 이제 여러분들이 참고하시면 좋을 것 같고요. 배우고 싶다라고 하시는 분들은 제 팬딩 멤버십 들어오시면 제가 매일 자료 올려드리고 있으니까 뭐 한 달에 4만원 아깝다고 생각하실 수도 있는데요. 뭐 제대로 공부해 가시면 저는 수천 수억의 가치가 있는 공부라고 생각하고 있기 때문에 네, 필요하신 분들은 팬딩 들어와 주시면 너무 감사하고, 어쨌거나 오늘 분장 열려봐야 알겠지만 저는 20% 이상 오를 거라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 지금 아이온큐 다음으로 제가 많이 가지고 있는 주식이 이노데이터죠. 그래서 굉장히 네, 오늘 어제 밤부터 엄청나게 내려 찍더라고요. 그래서 조금 이상하다. 아직 실적이 알려졌을 리는 없는데 잘 나올 걸 예상하고, 뭐 세력이 있는지 없는지 모르겠지만 일부러 주가를 떨궜다라고 생각하거든요. 또는 수익 실현을 한 거죠. 불확실한 실적이니까. 근데 저는 잘 나올 거라고 생각을 했고, 지금 거래량이 많이 터졌기 때문에 아마 손바뀜이 많이 일어났을 겁니다. 그래서 이번에 실적 좋으면 네, 또 올라갈 거고, 새롭게 높은 단가에 산 사람들이 많이 올라오기 때문에 주가가 더 올라갈 가능성이 있다라고 생각을 하고요. 어쨌거나 AI 시대에서 중요한 거는 물론 뭐 장비 회사 좋아요. 뭐 반도체 회사나 엔비디아 좋은데 이미 저는 오를 만큼 올랐다라고 생각해서 걔네들 투자 안 합니다. 이제 AI 시대가 왔는데 아직 수혜를 덜 본 애들이 뭘까? 또는 AI 한다는 기업들이 모두 써야 되는 게 뭘까라고 생각해 보면은 데이터의 중요성이 아직 네, 제대로 제도되지 않았습니다. 네, 데이터를 제대로 하는 회사가 지금 몇 개 없기 때문에 그 중에 또 네, 웨드부시의 댄 아이비스가 선정한 이노데이터가 앞으로 흑자 전환도 했고 이제 본격적으로 매출도 올라가고 있기 때문에 성장 여력이 굉장히 크지 않나 그렇게 생각해서 이제 AI 관련 주식으로는 저는 이노데이터를 선택해서 투자를 하고 있다는 거죠. 다음 분기 가이던스 나쁘다고는 할 수 없죠. 왜냐면 2024년만 해도 지금 전년 대비 거의 100% 증가한 실적인데 이거를 또 한 번 40% 이상 올리겠다라고 했거든요. 2025년에는. 근데 2024년에도 1분기 때는 한 작년 대비 20% 정도 오를 거야 라고 했고 2분기 때는 좀 더 오를 것 같아. 3분기 때 우리 90% 이상 오를 거야 라고 하더니 지금 96% 초과 달성했기 때문에 이 가이던스 자체 보는 것도 중요한데요. 중요한 건 이거죠. 매그니피센트 세븐이 AI 중심 자본 지출을 확대하는데 데이터의 중요성을 알기 때문에 네, 현재 애플을 제외한 애플이 이제 최대 고객인데 거기서 지금 매출이 거의 다 나오고 있거든요. 근데 그 애플을 제외한 7개의 빅테크 고객들이 더 있는데 얘네들한테서 매출이 4분기에 3분기 대비 160% 늘었고 앞으로도 수천만 달러 이상의 매출 기회로 이어질 거다라는 게 상당히 중요하다고 생각합니다. 숫자가 찍혔을 때 들어가는 것도 사실 나쁘지 않은 전략인데 저는 찍히기 전에 들어가서 찍히는 걸 보면서 같이 주가 올라가는 걸 좋아해서 뭐 아이온큐도 그랬고요. 이노데이터도 AI 시대에 걸맞는 좋은 중소형주 투자가 되지 않을까 생각하고 있습니다. 이노데이터 단가는 지금 수익률이 한 40% 정도 될 거예요. 그래서 제가 요거는 펜딩에는 계속 주간으로 포트폴리오 공개를 하고 있는데요. 잠깐 말씀을 드리면 한 40불 정도에 구매했네요. 그래서 지금 수익률이 한 50% 정도 됩니다. 수량이 적진 않습니다. 한 3,000주가 넘어요. 제가 가지고 있는 게. 그래서 아시겠지만 저는 제가 공부해보고 확신 있는 종목은 사람들이 팔 때 이거 되나 안 되나 할 때 많이 사서 모았다가 많이 올라오면은 그때 매도를 생각하는 전략을 쓰고 있기 때문에 네, 아이온큐는 한 6배, 7배 정도 수익 거두고 있고 이노데이터도 이제 한 50% 정도 됐으니까 앞으로 요것도 글쎄요. 아마 올해 안에는 3, 4배 정도 수익은 가지 않을까 그렇게 좀 생각을 하고 있습니다. 네, 그래서 제가 이 회사가 뭐 내부 중요 임원들이 계속 주식을 팔았어요. 그래서 어떤 분들은 이노데이터 내부자 매도 많이 나오니까 팔아야 된다라고 하시는데 내부자 매도가 지속적으로 많이 나오면 문제인데요. 제가 주목했던 거는 그걸 팔았던 사람들이 굉장히 오래전부터 이 회사를 다녔던 사람들이거든요. 그래서 그 사람들은 주식을 굉장히 싸게 취득했기 때문에 또 그 매도한 공시에 가보면 본인들이 은퇴 자금을 위해서 또는 투자 포트폴리오를 분산하기 위해서 매도한다라고 친절하게 주석을 달아놨거든요. 근데 그런 식으로 공시에 주석을 달아주는 기업은 저는 처음 봤기 때문에 이 회사가 신경을 쓰고 있다라고 생각한 거죠. 주주들한테. 우리 지금 내부자매도 많이 나오는데 이거는 오래된 긴 임원들 은퇴 자금용이지 우리가 회사가 뭐 지금 일시적으로 과열이라고 생각하거나 또는 앞으로 주가가 떨어질 거라고 생각해서 파는 게 아니다라고 힌트를 준다는 걸 제가 느꼈거든요. 그래서 이 대중들이 못 보는 이 이면의 진실을 봐야만 네, 큰 수익을 낼 수 있다고 생각을 합니다. 팔란티어는 안 가지고 있습니다. 저는 팔란티어를 그렇게 잘 아는 사람은 아니라서 본장 주가는 어떻게 될지 모르죠. 저는 일단 지금 애프터마켓 그러니까 핵심은 그거예요. 애프터마켓 주가에 너무 주목하지 마시라. 이거는 페이크일 가능성이 너무 높기 때문에 거래량이 적어도 금방 주가가 올라가거든요. 특히 이노데이터는 거래량이 이렇게 많은 종목은 아니라서 그래서 아마 아이온큐 같은 경우도 기억해 보시면 실적 발표 후에 한 10% 빠졌다가 장 열렸는데 2, 30% 올라가는 경우도 허다했거든요. 그래서 아마 이노데이터도 실적 자체가 워낙에 좋았기 때문에 아마 열려봐야 알겠지만 뭐 못해도 10%는 오를 것 같고 많으면 20% 30%도 오를 수 있다라고 생각합니다. 또 주가가 많이 올랐던 이유 중에 하나가 그 얼마 전에 13F 나왔잖아요. 그 일정 규모 이상의 기관 투자자들의 이 포트폴리오를 보여주는데 여기서 이노데이터가 기관 보유량도 늘었고 신규 진입한 기관도 늘면서 꽤 좋은 성과를 내면서 이노데이터도 이제 주가가 오른 거죠. 이때 실적 발표 전에 이미 13F 나오면서 흐름을 탔고 지금은 이제 어느 정도 실적이 나오기 직전이니까 수익 실현 물량도 나왔고 일부러 주가를 낮추려는 움직임도 있었던 것 같아요. 뭐 이게 뭐 큰손이나 기관이 일부러 개미를 털었는지는 모르겠지만 어쨌거나 지금은 실적이 잘 나왔기 때문에 다시 이렇게 타고 올라갈 가능성이 높다라고 생각을 합니다. 자, 이제 좀 있으면은 어닝콜 시작하니까요. 어닝콜 시작하면은 소리 끄고 타이핑 하면서 번역하도록 하겠습니다.
require immediate assistance, please press star zero for the operator. This call is being recorded on Thursday, February 20, 2025. I would now like to turn the conference over to Amy Agres, General Counsel at Innodeata Inc. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Enai. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Our speakers today are Jack Abelhoff, CEO of Innodeata, and Mariz Espineli, Interim CFO. Also on the call today is Anish Pendarkar, Senior Vice President, Finance and Corporate Development. We'll hear from Jack first, who will provide perspective about the business, and then Mariz will follow with a review of our results for the fourth quarter and fiscal year 2024. We'll then take questions from analysts. Before I get started, I'd like to remind everyone that during this call, we will be making forward-looking statements which are predictions, projections, or other statements about future events. These statements are based on current expectations, assumptions, and estimates, and are subject to risks and uncertainties. Actual results could differ materially from those contemplated by these forward-looking statements. Factors that could cause these results to differ materially are set forth in today's earnings press release, in the Risk Factors section of our Form 10-K, Form 10-Q, and other reports and filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We undertake no obligation to update forward-looking information. In addition, during this call, we may discuss certain non-GAAP financial measures. In our SEC filings, which are posted on our website, you will find additional disclosures regarding these non-GAAP financial measures, including reconciliations of those measures with comparable GAAP measures. Thank you. I will now turn the call over to Jack.
Thank you, Amy, and hello, everyone. Our Q4 24 revenue totaled $59.2 million, a year-over-year increase of 127% for the quarter. This exceeded our projected Q4 revenue guidance of $52 million to $55 million for Q4 24. Our adjusted EBITDA for the quarter was $14.1 million, or 23.9% of revenue, a 231% year-over-year increase. For the full year 2024, we delivered $170.5 million of revenue, up 96% over 2023. And our full year adjusted EBITDA was $34.6 million, or 20.3% of revenue, a 250% year-over-year increase. We finished the year with $46.9 million of cash, up from $13.8 million of cash at the end of 2023. Our $30 million credit facility remains undrawn. We are very pleased with these results. In the fourth quarter, we experienced accelerating business momentum across key strategic imperatives that we believe will serve our medium and long-term growth plans. The momentum we're achieving gives us confidence to forecast 2025 as another year of strong growth. In terms of guidance, in 2025, we will be taking the same approach we took in 2024. We'll start the year with an initial growth forecast based primarily on won and near-in forecastable business. And in succeeding quarters, if we win new business, we'll update the guidance. Last year at this time, we forecasted 20% growth for 2024, but then we revised this initial guidance upward multiple times through the course of the year as we won more business, ultimately delivering 96% revenue growth. We are now forecasting 40% or more revenue growth for 2025, and we will update this initial guidance through the course of the year. Our strong business momentum is reflected in revenue growth, margin expansion, broadening customer relationships, and continued progress on our strategic roadmap. We are laser-focused on providing big tech companies with the data engineering they require to develop generative AI frontier models. We believe our efforts are paying off. In Q4 and January, we were awarded additional programs and expansions with our largest customer, valued at approximately $24 million of annualized run rate revenue. These newest awards expand our total annualized run rate revenue with this customer to approximately $135 million. With our other big tech customers, we're also seeing accelerated demand for our services. Sequentially, from Q3 2024 to Q4 2024, our revenues from our largest big tech customer grew by 8%, while our aggregate revenues from our other 7 big tech customers grew by 159%. This increased growth by our other big tech customers, which we hope will continue in 2025, serves as validation of our land and expand strategy. And we expect it will continue to diversify our revenue base. Our confidence that these 7 other big tech customers will collectively become a significant part of our revenue makeup in 2025 is bolstered by the progress we made in Q4 in building relationships, expanding work, securing new wins, gaining traction, and earning trust. The number of projects and pilots we have underway with these customers significantly increased in Q4. This includes several pilots running now, which hold the promise, potentially, of 7 or even 8-figure wins. As we discussed last quarter, our strategy encompasses both services and platforms. On the services side, we intend to be a go-to partner for big techs that are building generative AI frontier models and enterprises that seek to transform their products and operations with generative AI technologies. We believe these are lucrative markets, which we are well suited to serve. The first focus area is big tech, and we believe we are positioned to benefit from big tech's aggressive planned investments in generative AI. Following recent earnings reports from the Magnificent Seven, it is estimated that Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and Google parent Alphabet will spend a cumulative $325 billion in CapEx and investments in 2025, driven by continued commitment to building out their artificial intelligence offerings. Amazon expects CapEx to be over $100 billion, up from $83 billion in 2024, with its CEO reiterating his previous views that AI is a, quote, once-in-a-lifetime type of business opportunity. Meta expects its 2025 CapEx to be between $60 and $65 billion, which, even at the bottom end of this guidance, is over 50% higher than its 2024 CapEx of $39.2 billion. Its CEO has termed 2025 as the, quote, defining year for AI. Microsoft, meanwhile, expects to spend $80 billion in its fiscal 2025, which will end in June, and Alphabet has forecast 2025 CapEx of $75 billion, which is almost 50% higher than its 2024 CapEx of $52.5 billion. These recent earnings press releases have reinforced the commitment by these large tech companies to accelerate their AI investments with the goal of approaching AGI, artificial general intelligence. We believe that the long road to AGI will be paved with data, multilingual and multimodal data, data for safety and alignment, meta-learning and reasoning data, computer use, agentic and operator data, industry-specific data, and data for real-world modeling and simulation. Now, we know models perform better when supervised fine-tuning data is high quality, large-scale, highly consistent, and diverse. An industry analogy to explain where we are in capturing data is to imagine the realm of all useful data to be the size of a football. By comparison, today's best-performing LLMs have been trained with data sets that are probably the size of a dime. What's even more interesting is that much of this is uncaptured, but useful data does not even exist explicitly today, such as how to execute a multi-step process using a series of websites, or how to reason through complex domain-specific problems. We believe this likely means an even greater need for investment in our services that will be necessary to achieve the goal of AGI. We intend for Innodeater to be at the forefront of providing these services. Moreover, we believe that innovation in hardware optimization, such as that lower the costs of compute required to train tomorrow's LLMs on data will enable big tech to accelerate their investments in data. We saw this kind of innovation recently from DeepSeek, the Chinese AI research lab. Their innovative use of several existing technologies, which enabled more data to be trained with less compute, are in fact part and parcel of the technology revolution previously popularized as Moore's Law for the semiconductor industry. We expect DeepSeek's hardware optimization techniques to be quickly absorbed by our largest customers, much like other recent hardware optimization techniques that received less fanfare and future hardware optimization techniques that are inevitable. We believe that there is no viable substitute, for pre-training data and fine-tuning data to progress to AGI. Techniques such as data distillation, using output of existing models to train new models, may result in high performance on benchmarks because benchmarks are inherently biased toward the past. But limiting data diversity in this way actually results in a more limited performance and ultimately causes what's referred to as model collapse. DeepSeek relied heavily on data distillation. That's why in the last few weeks, we're seeing more and more the limits of what their model can do. We're also seeing big tech companies putting in place the technologies to effectively shut the back door to future data distillation. In addition to supplying supervised fine-tuning data, we are increasingly identifying opportunities to source and transform pre-training data to solve the issues around IP infringement. One of the big tech companies that we signed in 2024 engaged us on pre-training data in Q4, which resulted in $3 million of Q4 revenue. We're also finding expanded opportunities with big tech companies in LLM safety and evaluation. Just last month, we won 2 LLM trust and safety engagements with a big tech company that we value at approximately $3.6 million of annualized revenue run rate. Let's talk a bit about the enterprise market. The DeepSeek hardware optimization that we just spoke of, that makes both training and inferencing less expensive, will, we believe, significantly catalyze enterprise Gen AI adoption. This has recently been talked about as an example of the Jevons paradox, the simple idea that when technological progress makes a resource cheaper or more efficient to use, it often leads to an increase in demand for that resource. We believe we are on the precipice of a rapid acceleration in enterprise adoption of generative AI. This, we believe, will result from hardware optimization that lowers the cost of building Gen AI solutions and managing Gen AI infrastructure, as well as advancements in high-quality open-source models that can be fine-tuned as expert agents, innovations in orchestrating agentic AI ecosystems, and frontier models capable of performing deep research utilizing both websites and tomorrow's agents. We're seeing that enterprise customers struggle with access to Gen AI talent, with building technical roadmaps to capture both operational enhancement and product innovation, and with building prototypes that move into development. And as their ecosystems become more densely populated with AI agents, we anticipate that they will struggle with issues around safety and trust as well. We believe our enterprise Gen AI focus presents opportunities for us to continue delivering strong revenue growth in 2026 and beyond. The strong relationships we have with leading information companies, financial services companies, and other businesses have been and are expected to be a right proving ground for enterprise AI solutions and services. We believe we already have a line of sight to double-digit growth with a number of these customers in 2025 based on forecasted Gen AI-related spend. Moreover, our Gen AI focus creates a clear path for reinvesting in our business with what we anticipate to be near-term payback. Our 2025 budget calls for us to reinvest a portion of our cash from operations back into the business, while at the same time exceeding our 2024 adjusted EBITDA. Our scheduled investments are largely in people, spanning technology, product development, operations, and sales, we are pleased with how successful we have been recently at recruiting select top talent from prominent technology companies and leading competitors. They find our business momentum attractive, as well as the opportunity to build practices that will align to the industry and technology trends that I just described. The work we're doing with our big tech customers on trust and safety is helping to inform our development of our automated trust and safety platform. We believe that our automated trust and safety platform will be useful to enterprises to measure how their models and agents are working, to surface vulnerabilities and misalignments, and to identify specific training required for continuous improvement. We're building this for the agentic era, in which we anticipate companies will depend on a rich ecosystem of agents to power their operations and products. In the last few months, we have worked hand in hand with prospective customers and partners, designing functions and features. We demoed the platform for the big tech company that I spoke about earlier as having just engaged us on a 3.6 million trust and safety program. And I believe what they saw helped us seal the deal. We expect to beta release the product to select charter customers in Q2. I'll now turn the call over to Mariz to go over the financial results, after which Mariz, Anish, and I will be available to take questions from our analysts. Mariz?
Thank you, Jack, and good afternoon, everyone. Revenue for Q4 2024 reached $59.2 million, reflecting a year-over-year increase of 127%. This exceeded our expectation, benefiting from a project we delivered in the quarter for one of our new big tech customers. For 2024 as a whole, we grew 96%. For the quarter, adjusted gross margin was 48%, representing a 4% sequential increase from the 44% we achieved in Q3 of 2024. This was a strong result driven by a project for one of our new big tech customers in the fourth quarter that yielded strong margin, as well as automation efforts and management initiatives that reduce headcount and optimize costs in our Synodex business. For the year, adjusted gross margin climbed slightly from 42% to 43%, but would have been 45% without the $3.6 million of recruiting costs we incurred in Q2 to scale the business. Adjusted EBITDA for the fourth quarter was $14.1 million, or 23.9% of revenue, up from $4.3 million year over year. For the year, adjusted EBITDA was $34.6 million, or 20.3% of revenue, up from $9.9 million from 2023. Our result in both quarter and the year demonstrated strong operating leverage characteristic of our business. Net income was $10.3 million in the fourth quarter, up from $1.7 million in the same period last year. For the year, net income was $28.7 million, which was 3,256% higher than 2023. We were able to utilize the benefit of accumulated net operating losses, or NOLCO, in Q3 and in Q4 to partially offset our tax provision. As a result, our effective tax rate for 2024 was approximately a negative 17.1%. Without the benefit of NOLCO, our effective tax rate would have been approximately 20%. Absent any changes to our tax environment and variables, we expect our 2025 tax rate to be in the range of 28 to 31.5%. Our cash position at the end of Q4 was $46.9 million, up $26.4 million at the end of Q3, and up from $13.8 million at the year-end 2023. We still have not drawn on our $30 million Wells Fargo credit facility that we increased in Q2 of 2024. The amount drawable under this facility at any point in time is determined based on borrowing-based formula. Jack also mentioned that in 2025, we plan on investing in extending our capabilities. Our internal budget has us dialing up strategic hires and product development expenditure as we saw the seed for long-term growth. From budget and forecasting perspective, we believe we can dial up reinvestment of operating cash flow while at the same time aim to exceed 2024's adjusted EBITDA. That's all on my side. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Operator, please open the line for questions.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Should you have a question, please press star followed by the one on your telephone keypad. And should you wish to cancel your request, please press star followed by the two. If you are using a speakerphone, please lift the handset before pressing any keys. One moment, please, for your first question. Your first question comes from the line of George Sutton from Craig-Hallum. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Fabulous job, guys. So I was particularly excited to see the 159% sequential growth from your 7 other big tech customers. I wondered if you could just lay out the future for that group, if you would, and how does it dovetail with the number of pilots that you're seeing? You mentioned 7 to 8 figure opportunities. Are those coming from those 7, or are those additional customers?
Hi, George. Well, thank you very much for that and great question. So the pilots that we're talking about are coming from a combination of those additional big techs. And I can think of one enterprise that we also have, a very large scale deal that's in what we would refer to as a pilot stage right now. So we're focused this year on big techs in order to achieve our growth plans. But we're working hard on the enterprise side as well. We're putting in place some key partnerships, some key wins, some key capabilities, and we're seeing that start to bubble up a bit in the pipeline.
So I want to go back to the football dime analogy that you used in terms of where the current models are, and talk about your largest customer by example. And this is really a duration question, because I think one of the challenges people have is how long will this customer be this size or larger? Can you just address it from that football dime analogy perspective?
Yeah, so the analogy that we're using, and I think I can credit one of our internal data scientists with this. I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but I find it very useful. So we think about the bounds of, the containerization of all human knowledge as expressed or expressible potentially as data, as being the size of a football. And if we, hold that visual image in mind, we can think by comparison as the data that's been used to train today's LLMs as being the size of a dime. Now, what does that mean? That means that there's a whole lot of additional data that the models of the future are going to need to learn from to be able to function at something that begins to resemble over time as AGI, the ability to closely mimic the capabilities of a human. And when we, peel that back a bit, we see lots of different things. We see expert data, reasoning data, multilingual data, multimodal data, meta learning. So learning and expressing as data, how do human beings think when they take apart a problem, when they assign components of that problem out, when they order, their operations around solving a particular problem. And the problem doesn't even have to be a particularly sophisticated one, although it can be. So there's a ton of data that needs to be captured and that needs to be addressable in order for the models to learn from it. And that, we believe, is our opportunity, or one of our opportunities. It's not even our only opportunity, but it's a very exciting opportunity. And given what you were all and we were all reading about in their recent earnings reports in terms of the uptick in capital spending, principally for these technologies and these capabilities, we believe that we're still in the early innings.
Gotcha. And then one other question. A lot of discussion relative to models being either open or closed. Can you talk about your opportunity as it may differ from one versus the other?
Yeah, sure. So I think that we've got opportunities very clearly on both sides of the fence. We're working on open source models with customers for whom open source is a primary strategy, and we're working with customers, who are, building closed source models. I think open source is particularly interesting because in combination with the likely declines in cost of inferencing and costs of computing cycles necessary to train models, the world of opportunity is going to open up well past today's integration strategies that for an enterprise. They're going to open up in terms of training, very specific agents. You can call it small language models for building on top of open source models, doing, complete, supervised, SFT models based on that. That's a huge opportunity for us. There's a lot that enterprise struggle with in terms of even where is their data? What's the policies around data? How do they access it? Where's a federated golden source for the latest data? Well, all of that is data engineering that's going to get worked out with our help, we hope. And on top of that, building the models that form up their complex future agentic ecosystems. So we see opportunity all over the place right now.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And your next question comes from the line of Alan C. from Maxim Group. Please go ahead.
Great. Congrats. One business question, then a couple of financials. The business one is there's been a lot of questions in the market with DeepSeek and some thinking of like that maybe through inferencing where they're using other AI models to kind of figure out the answers instead of training. And does that mean that there could potentially be less training done? And I think you did address it, but could you just kind of go into that a little more? Because I think was some questions in the market. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So it's well respected and well recognized among data scientists that distillation of data, so using data from existing models to train new models, creates model collapse. What happens is model diversity drops, and that compromises certainly the upper limit of performance. What you observe is memorization versus true cognition. Now, you can do that cleverly in a way that maximizes how you perform on benchmarks. We call that benchmaxing. And I think clearly the DeepSeek team did an amazing job at benchmaxing across the diversity of benchmarks. So, hats off to them for that. But the fact remains that when you do distillation, you're hugely compressing the data. You're introducing a huge amount of bias into the model. You're inviting model collapse. And that's why, even if you read the technical report from DeepSeek, much less, the notes and transcripts that are available of, some closed door discussions they had in China with their researchers, they clearly recognize the limitations of what they've done. They clearly, talk about how going forward, they're going to need to do a lot more work and a lot more investment in terms of data in order to catch up with true performance. So data, distillation is a technique. It's a known technique that wasn't an innovation. Data distillation creates model collapse. And that's why I don't think you're going to see the people that are really driving toward AGI in a serious way and creating the frontier models, embracing that as a viable technique.
Very good. Thank you. And a couple financial questions. I'll try to be quick. Your gross margins were 45%. 40.2% versus 40.8% in the third quarter and 34.8% in the prior year fourth quarter. You mentioned that of the reasons why, one of them, I heard you guys say that it was a new tech customer, something you were working on, but also automation and less headcount and Synodex. What I'm trying to understand is, do you think there's potential from where it's at now to potentially expand as we go through 25, or is there any reasons why it was unusually a little high in the fourth quarter?
Anish, do you want to take that?
Yeah, yeah, of course, Jack. So Alan, I guess just in terms of Q4 specifically, we with that set customer, there were certain projects which we were working on where we had pretty healthy margins, and then kind of just the mix effect with some of our other customers, we were able to generate, as you said, kind of 45% kind of in Q4. As we kind of think about 2025, holistically, there's always going to be some puts and takes as it relates to gross margin, as it relates to specific programs with specific customers. We kind of on a fully loaded basis will generally be targeting kind of around the 40% adjusted gross margin for net new opportunities, which we think is a pretty healthy kind of level of margin for a services company. Of course, all the opportunities, as we continue to win new customers, we'd be hoping to get more than that. But that's kind of how we're thinking about kind of net new opportunities on the margin front. I hope that makes sense, Alan.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. The last question, and I know you may not answer this because you didn't do it yet, but can you help us in any way? You say you're going to be reinvesting, which I believe is the right thing to do for long-term, medium-term, long-term growth, but EBITDA will be up year over year. Is there anything you can help us with in terms of qualitatively what that of being up year over year, of how to think about that?
So I think what our plan calls for at least is to be investing primarily in people across an array of different areas. And as you know, I mean, as I think is evident, we prize, operational excellence. We're doing a lot still to tweak and automate and improve and everything else. So as we, make investments, we're going to be very careful about those. We believe that there's such a rich opportunity landscape that we can make investments and get a very near-term return on those investments. We see that we're able to hire some people who can be very impactful, within our business. They love the momentum we've got right now. They love the relationship, the reputation that they hear we're creating in the market when they talk to our customers. And they like our plan. They like our vision for, what our capabilities are going to be now and into the future. So I think, we're reluctant to fix a number in terms of what those investments will be, even though in our plan we have a number. We want to be somewhat flexible. We want to quite possibly dial that up as we dial up forecastable growth. But we're going to be disciplined about it, and that's why one of the things we want to measure ourselves against, and hopefully hold us to, is that as we dial up those investments, we'll also be looking at adjusted EBITDA with our stated goal of beating last year.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And your next question comes from the line of Hamid Korsan from BWS Financial. Please go ahead.
Hi, just on the topic of you're looking to invest, are you at capacity now with the client base you have? Do you need it for new projects? Do you need it because you have a sales funnel? Why do you feel like you need to expand your headcount now?
Sure. So I think it's helpful, Ahmed, to distinguish between cost of goods and SG&A. On the cost of goods side, we're able to expand in close proximity to opportunity. We don't need to carry a large bench of capabilities or bench of talent. We don't experience constraint in terms of revenue and revenue opportunity relative to cost of goods. What we do though in cost of goods is we prepare for the next phases of growth. We want to make sure that we've got the management talent and technical talent and other things required in order to achieve our growth ambitions on that side. Now, on the SG&A side, it's a question of ambition. It's a question of, well, how much more do we want to do? How much opportunity do we want to try to seize? What are the things that we think we have justification in potentially winning with the relationships we have and the brand that we have and the capabilities we have? And frankly, there's a lot that we see there. So, what you're seeing when we talk about investments is a reflection of the ambition that we have for who we think we can become. The people we're hiring today, they know how to do things I can hardly even understand. And I love that because we're getting deep into the technology. We're operating in ways that go well beyond anything that we've ever done in the past. And the work that we're doing is well received by our customers. So we're gonna keep feeding the beast there, and we'll do so, as I said, in response to the last question, in a way that is disciplined, in a way that enables us to have our cake and eat it too, to both show hopefully year-over-year improvements in key operating metrics as well as growth levels like what we're showing now and expansion of capabilities.
Okay. And then on the pilot trials you were talking about earlier, is that opportunity as far as taking business away from a competitor or competitors, or is that brand new projects that you hope to win?
I think that there's probably a bit here and there that we've taken from competitors. I know that is the case here and there, but for the most part, that's not our strategy. This pie is expanding so rapidly that we're focused not on eating someone else's lunch relative to yesterday's. I'm mixing metaphors terribly. Yesterday's pie, but we're focused on how do we, as that pie expands, how do we get a disproportionate share of that expansion? What do we need to be able to do? What do we need to have in place? What do we need to be able to prove such that we're seen as adding disproportionate value relative to our competitors?
Okay, and then my final question is, do you feel like you're under a lot less stress because your cash position now, or do you think because you're at a higher revenue run rate, you still need a little bit more liquidity than you have now?
I think we're very well positioned. You see the increase in cash that we've got on our balance sheet now. We haven't tapped our credit facility at all. We're forecasting a very significant level of free cash flow generation, and we're very targeted and very disciplined in terms of the investments we're going to be making. So I think we've got what it takes and we've got what it needs. That said, I'll repeat again, we're very ambitious. We want to be in a position to seize opportunity. And as that opportunity presents itself to us, we'll, I hope, make the right decisions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further questions at this time. I would now hand the call back to Mr. Jack Abuhoff for any closing remarks.
Operator, thank you. So, Q4 was It was a record quarter. 2024 was a record year. We've entered 2025 with really strong momentum. We're starting the year with guidance of 40% or more revenue growth, and we'll update that as we go forward, much like we did in 2024. Our confidence is underpinned by the continuing increase we're seeing in customer demand. We're announcing today new wins of $24 million in annualized run rate revenue from our largest customer, bringing our total run rate to approximately $135 million with this customer. And at the same time, equally exciting, we grew revenue from our other 7 big techs by 159% sequentially. And we think this is a big deal because it shows that our land and expand strategy is working. The macro environment is working in our favor as well. We believe the big techs are continuing to dial up their capital commitments to AI, and at the same time, we're anticipating a rapid acceleration in enterprise adoption, thanks in part to DeepSeek and other research labs that are optimizing hardware utilization, which then lowers entry costs for enterprise. So, the net is we believe we're in the right place at the right time and that a potentially massive opportunity exists in front of us. To position ourselves for continued strong growth in 2026 and beyond, our plan calls for reinvesting in the business while at the same time hopefully growing 2025's adjusted EBITDA over 2024. The balance sheet is strong, $46.9 million in cash at year end and an undrawn $30 million credit facility. So we've clearly got the flexibility to execute our strategy. So yeah, again, thank you all for participating today and for being on this journey with us. We're committed to nothing less than making Innodeater one of the greatest AI services companies out there. We'll look forward to updating you on our progress as the year progresses.
Thank you. And this concludes today's call. Thank you for participating. You may all disconnect.
자, 이제 끝났는데요. 뭐 특별한 얘기는 없었어요. 그리고 이제 저희 채팅창에서도 잘 얘기해 주셨는데 애널리스트들이 계속 질문을 던지죠. 이 흐름을 보셔야 되는데 서로 다른 질문들을 했지만 결국에 그들이 알아내고자 하는 거는 매출이 어디서부터 얼마나 늘어날 거냐 힌트를 좀 더 달라는 건데 네, CEO가 힌트를 추가적으로 주진 않았죠. 그냥 뭐 주요 고객사와는 매출 계속 잘 내고 있고 추가 M7 이제 주요 고객사는 애플로 추정이 되고요. 나머지 6개의 빅테크와의 이 매출도 많이 늘어나고 있기 때문에 잘하고 있다. 그 인력 왜 더 뽑냐? 뭐 뛰어난 사람들이 필요하니까 뽑지. 네, 당연한 얘기만 해줬고요. 뭐 특별히 힌트를 준 건 없었고 어쨌거나 실적이 굉장히 좋았습니다. 이제 우리가 적자 기업인 아이온큐 실적만 보다가 이런 흑자 내는 기업 실적을 보니까 감이 잘 안 와서 그러는데 흑자 전환을 하면서 예상치를 초과하는 기업들이 보통 주가가 많이 오릅니다. 기대감이 이때 고조화되기 때문에 PER이 높아지면서 애널리스트들도 좋은 평가를 주죠. 그래서 아마 아까 나왔던 애널리스트들도 한번 내일 정리를 하면서 목표 주가를 줄 텐데 그들이 목표 주가를 현재 주가에 비해 얼마나 주느냐에 따라서 또 단기적인 주가 흐름이 결정이 되겠죠. 높게 주면은 월가에서는 이제 프로그램 매매라 그래서 자동으로 매수하게 되는 게 있고 예상보다 낮게 주면은 또 팔도록 하는 그런 알고리즘 매매가 있기 때문에 그게 또 오늘 밤 본장이 열리면 주요 모니터링 포인트가 될 것 같은데 어쨌거나 오늘 20% 가까이 빼는 거는 완전히 페이크였어요. 이제 실적이 나오기 전에 뭐 수익을 실현하거나 또는 큰 손들이 개미 털기를 한 거죠. 그래서 저는 50불 초반대에서 오히려 주식을 더 샀고요. 지금 한 50% 정도 수익을 내고 있는데 오늘 아마 뭐 장 열렸을 때 최소한 지금 오르는 것 같이 한 10%는 무난히 오를 것 같고요. 또 애널리스트들이 목표 주가 높게 주면서 또 관심이 몰리면 뭐 20% 30%도 오를 수 있을 것 같아요. 그래서 결코 나쁜 결과가 아닙니다. 굉장히 좋은 결과였고 또 폐장 후에 애프터마켓에서 주가 왔다 갔다 하는 건 크게 신경 안 쓰셔도 돼요. 이때는 본장이 아니기 때문에 조금만 누가 사도 주가가 오르고요. 조금만 누가 팔아도 주가가 내리기 때문에 중요한 거는 본장이 어떻게 되느냐이고 더 중요한 거는 우리는 장기 투자자니까 실적이 좋게 흘러가면 되는 거죠. 주가가 어떻든 많이 떨어지면 사면 되는 거니까. 네, 그래서 굳이 걱정할 필요는 없을 것 같고요. 또 아이온큐 같은 경우 왜 걱정하시는지 저는 잘 모르겠는데 지금은 그 마요라나 페르미온이라는 마이크로소프트 제품이 초전도체랑 관련이 있어서 그 기대감 때문에 초전도체 관련 애들이 올라가고 이제 상대 진영에 있는 이온트랩의 아이온큐가 좀 떨어지는 건데, 지금 제가 유튜브에서도 말씀드렸지만 주가가 수렴하고 있잖아요. 이 얘기는 뭐냐면 아직 그 기대감이 있다는 거고, 이 삼각 수렴 후에는 크게 올라가거나 크게 떨어지거든요. 그래서 제가 어닝이 굉장히 중요하다라고 말씀을 드렸는데, 저는 잘 나올 확률이 크다라고 생각합니다. 지금 계속 파트너십도 늘리고 있고 큐비텍도 인수하면서 그쪽 인력이랑 매출도 가져왔기 때문에 뭐 지금 흐름이 나쁘지 않아요. 이 큰 상승세를 이어가고 있기 때문에 이게 합쳐진 다음에 어디로 갈지 모르겠지만 저는 장기적으로 아이언큐가 잘하고 있기 때문에 거꾸로 생각하셔야 됩니다. 떨어질 때 팔까요 하시지 마시고요. 회사에 대해 잘 안다면 떨어질 때 오히려 사야 되는 겁니다. 그래야 5불 때, 6불 때에서 제가 많이 사서 지금 수익을 잘 내는 것 같은 결과를 가져올 수 있겠죠. 언제 들어가야 될까요? 요거는 제가 조언을 드리고 싶은 게 장기 적립식으로 그냥 하세요. 월급 들어오시면은 뭐 여유자금이 한 10만 원 남다. 그러면 그날 그냥 사시면 됩니다. 타이밍 재지 마세요. 타이밍 재서 돈 벌 수 있는 사람 아마 여기에 없을 겁니다. 아무리 본인이 타이밍을 재도 이 적립식으로 산 사람을 이기는 거는 진짜 실력 있는 사람도 쉽지 않거든요. 그래서 베이스는 적금한다라고 생각하시고 사시는 게 제일 좋고요. 뭐 그 외에 뭐 타이밍 잡는 거 관련돼서는 제가 팬딩에서 많이 전달드리고 있기 때문에 그거는 저도 상당히 공부를 많이 해야 되는 자료고요. 좋은 정보니까 제가 저도 먹고 살아야 되잖아요. 그래서 여러분들이 유튜브 구독해 주시는 것도 좋지만 팬딩도 많이 와주시면 좋겠습니다. 자, 어쨌거나 오늘도 이른 아침인데 지금 500분 가까이 계셔서 정말 감사하고요. 아이온큐 제가 유튜브에서 계속 다루고 있는데 차세대 종목은 팬딩에서 많이 다루고 있어요. 그래서 저를 또 후원하고 싶고 뭐 수익 낸 거에 대해서 고맙다라고 하시는 분들은 팬딩에 가입해 주시면 제 활동에 큰 도움이 될 것 같습니다. 이쪽으로 와주시면 좋겠고요. 뭐 제 생각에도 이노데이터 걱정 없습니다. 아이온큐 저는 지금 아예 걱정 하나도 없거든요. 이노데이터가 그런 흐름으로 가고 있어요. 저한테는 제가 계속 공부해보니까 회사도 괜찮고 성장하고 있기 때문에 굳이 왜 단기적인 주가에 두려워하시는지 모르겠어요. 그렇게 심리에 지배되는 사람이 되어버리면 하수입니다. 심리를 활용해서 거꾸로 하셔야 된다는 게 핵심이라는 거죠. 남들이 팔고 공포에 질렸을 때 오히려 사야 된다. 근데 사려면은 회사에 대해 잘 알아야겠죠. 그래서 공부하셔야 되고 대중과 거꾸로 하면은 반드시 큰 돈을 벌 수 있다라고 저는 생각을 합니다. 어쨌거나 오늘 이제 저도 일하러 가봐야 되기 때문에 여기서 마무리하고요. 또 유튜브로 좋은 영상으로 찾아뵙도록 하겠습니다. 팬딩에서는 제가 매매 언제 하는지 주간으로 또 공유를 드리기 있기 때문에 저도 많이 가입해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 마무리하도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다. 여러분 좋은 하루 되세요.